Hey, Ding Dongs, I'm Jamie.
I'm Richard.
And this is Explain It to Jamie, the political comedy podcast in which I, Jamie, a politically innocent but curious fella from Toronto, Canada, has the complicated political happenings of the world explained to me by my politically savvy friend, Richard Lamb.
That's me.
That's Richard. Now, you may be listening and thinking, oh, man, is there a delay in their voices? Yes, there is, because we are once again recording remotely. Richard is a busy guy. He's spending a lot of time up in Sudbury. I'm a sick fella who doesn't want to infect him and the rest of his cast. And,
yeah, ironically, I'm back in Toronto for just one day, so we theoretically could have recorded in person during this day, but Jamie was sick and didn't want me to get sick as well, which is very generous of him. But this kind of makes this like the podcast equivalent of like when your dad texts you when you're in your bedroom that dinner's ready.
Yeah, we're living the dream. We're living the millennial dream, the new technology.
We are living the millennial dream. I feel it.
Yeah. I can still get all my social interactions in without ever having to look anyone in the eye.
Yeah, that's the dream, right? That's the dream.
Yeah.
It's like you want to feel social without ever dealing with like people and their annoying needs and their desires and stuff like that.
Yeah, and their germs.
Yeah.
I have to apologize in advance. I'm recording in my closet, and it would seem that my neighbor is listening to hip hop quite loud, which is cool, but also is kind of a nice segue into our topic today, because were I a billionaire, that would not be a problem.
No.
But I am not, like 99% of the world.
No, if you were a billionaire, your only neighbors would be the mole people that live in the center of the earth, where you reside in your subterranean like billionaire doom palace.
That's right. Yeah, but alas, I live on Bloor and Dufferin.
And a billionaire has never even heard of Bloor and Dufferin. They're on such a different level than us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Billionaires, like, the Path. So in Toronto, there's this thing called the Path. Many Canadian cities have an equivalent version of this thing where there's like kind of like an underground mall that connects a bunch of the downtown. Of it in Edmonton, Calgary, et cetera, et cetera. Well, billionaires actually have just another one of those, a layer down, so they just walk around. They never have to even see other people. In a way, we are just like billionaires today, recording remotely.
Yeah. Maybe they're not so different after all. Wow.
They paid us so much money to say this, you guys.
Open this Fabergé egg of luxury and decadence.
I'd say that's a $1 billion idea.
Hey, roll it, baby. All right, here we are, back again. So, Rico, I want you to explain to me billionaires.
Okay. Do you know anything about billionaires, Jamie?
Well, I mean, that's a strange question. You know what I mean? Like, I know what a billionaire is. I think one of the interesting things for me is that like billion, and yeah, and then such as when a new class enters the social zeitgeist, so it should be analyzed and predictions should be made. I mean, I guess the next logical step is trillionaires, right?
Yeah, that's right. And fingers crossed, who's going to be the first trillionaire? Everyone's waiting with bated breath to see.
Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, you think it's Jeff? You think it's old Jeffy?
I think it's probably old Jeff.
Yeah,
or someone from China.
The world still exists in time for him to become a trillionaire.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that's his end game. Maybe that's his just great hope is that I just want to be a trillionaire before it all goes to shit. Like it's already all going to shit. We already know that. We've all hedged our bets.
He doesn't want to use his hundreds of $1 billion to like save us all or anything.
Yeah, no, hell no.
Yeah,
hell no. No,
he wants
his
to
wealth is like the equivalent to my Clash of Clans account, where I'm just like, watching just like arbitrary numbers go up and like. I guess I'd like it to be over $1 trillion, but after $1 billion, it truly doesn't matter anymore, does it?
Yeah, it's like that episode of Archer where like all the weird train people are obsessed with breaking the like land speed record to Ottawa. or whatever it is. Do you remember that episode of Archer?
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, so Billionaires.
Yeah, baby.
It's a funny thing. Like, let's talk about Billionaires for a second. So, dollars is just crazy. It is absolutely fucking astonishing. And yet, it's a thing that we allow to happen that kind of hides in plain sight in our society and that remains relatively unexamined by mainstream society. I think that's beginning to change now. I think there's beginning to be ideological discussion of that, of why billionaires are allowed to exist. But there's billionaires. There's a lot of them. They already exist. And the fact of the matter is, at this point in time, they wield
as like 8 people or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And like, one of the main things that happens is I think part of the reason that billionaires are able to keep a relatively low profile, like a kind of surprisingly low profile, is that, well, obviously it's in their best interest to do so, and they have a shitload of money with which to pursue their best interest. That's going to be a theme in this episode. But also, I think it's the brain just has a hard time comprehending exactly how big a number a billion is, you know? There's this often cited kind of comparison thing you can do where you could think to yourself like, 1,000,000 seconds is 12 days. 1 billion seconds is over 30 years, right?
Right.
That's how much more than a million a billion is, you know?
Right. Yeah, one of the things I was thinking about today was like, if I had $1 billion, because a lot of our listeners will know I do a little bit of investing. If I had $1 billion and put it in a 5% dividend return account, that would mean I would make $20 million a year just by doing nothing.
That's right. You could literally sit there and do absolutely nothing, and you'd have $20 million a year to spend if you wanted to, and you'd never lose any money.
Yeah, and a lot of a lot of investors would say that was like a weak investment strategy. Like I could be making a ton more with just a little bit more work.
5% is a super conservative rate of return.
Yeah, most of those guys try and swing for 10 to 20%.
So the gist of it is, for some reason, in this world right now, the rules have been set up in a way that allow people to just amass an absolutely fucking stunning amount of money, like more money than you could ever possibly conceivably need as a single person in your entire life. And these people are just allowed to hold on to this money and do whatever the fuck they want from it. And this is the truly crazy part too, JB. You're allowed to pass that money on to your children. Yeah. Right? Which means that this wealth gets held privately, possibly indefinitely, until something gets done about it, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what that whole Walmart thing is, right? Is like the 6 children of the dude that started Walmart, inherited whatever 23% of the world's wealth. And they didn't do anything. Like, I'm sure they work for Walmart, and I'm sure they put in business and but like they didn't start Walmart. I was listening to this thing today that was talking about how like $1 billion idea is effectively a fluke. You know, like it's not, it's not that this person was so special and so, so unique and so smart, and they were just so ahead of the game that they came up with $1 billion idea. A lot of the time it's like you happened to come up with a revolutionary technology or innovation, and it took off, and you made $1 billion, and good for you. But the difference between a like $1 million idea and $1 billion idea is just circumstance and just sort of fluke.
Well, and let's be clear here. There's no such thing as $1 billion idea. And I think that is an uncontroversial thing to say. There's no single idea you could create that will earn you $1 billion. Because the only way to earn $1 billion is essentially to engage in, massively predatory capitalism. Right. You don't just have to create $1 billion idea and then receive $1 billion off of your dividends. In order to create, remember, the difference between 12 days worth of money and 30 years in terms of money. You can create $1 million idea. I think that's definitely possible.
Right.
You could theoretically create a $10 million idea. But to privatize and hold $1 billion, you have to be exploiting people. There's just no way around it. You cannot on your own leverage that much like economic power. You have to rely on the extremely hard work of other people. You have to ruthlessly, corner your market, destroy your competition, et cetera, and you have to suck surplus value out of that entire kind of feedback loop, economic feedback loop, in order to get all that money. There's no other way to do it. It's the only way forward.
Yeah. I was watching. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. You go ahead.
I was watching this thing this morning. YouTube constantly recommends to me like videos like what are billionaire habits and like what did the super rich do to get ready for their business day or whatever. And then I watched one this morning and it was like, this guy, he gets up at 5 a.m. and he meditates and then sort of goes through his day.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, yeah, but like he came up with this list of habits after he became a billionaire.
Yes.
It's not like Bill Gates was sitting in his garage with his pals and like, sorry dudes, I gotta go meditate and have a one-on-one with my yoga guru. They were eating ramen soup and sleeping in sleeping bags against the garbage cans until the job was done. And now that he's a billionaire, he can tell me all about how I live my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's a billionaire habit to have a shitload of money that you can hand to somebody who's going to, use the stock market to make more of it for you. It's a billionaire habit to pay thousands and thousands of people a minimum wage and to take a certain percentage of all of the work they do and keep it for yourself. That's how billionaires make their money. And again, let's just roll back. We've talked about this a few times on the podcast, but if there's one political theory idea I want listeners of the podcast to really understand and hold dear, it's this one that comes from Karl Marx of surplus value, right? And remember, in any capitalist system, if you're working for a set wage, in order for you to be profitable, at some point you start working for free, right? Because if you were paid exactly the value of your work, there would be no profit for the people who own your company to become billionaires off of, right?
Right.
A billionaire like Jeff Bezos is taking a portion of the value generated by every single one of his workers. Owner who's sitting there making all the profit at the end, or a not-for-profit model works a similar way, right?
Right. What does Karl Marx think about drones?
So that's something that a great way to illustrate this is when I'm a theater actor, and theater acting is a contract job. So there's sometimes I go for long stretches of time where I'm not in a show. That's just the nature of the business. And in order to make money when I do bike courier food delivery sometimes. Right. And what's crazy about the bike courier food delivery is that the surplus value model is very visible in it, because when you're a bike courier, you get paid a flat rate for delivering something, and you get paid a kilometer, $1 per kilometer for every kilometer you bike from the restaurant to the delivery point. But you don't get paid for the minute I receive the order, me biking to the restaurant, I don't get paid for that.
Right.
And that's the work that I'm donating to the company, right? If I get a pickup that's 3 kilometers away from where I am, or 2 kilometers away, which happens occasionally, I'm about to do 2 kilometers worth of work for free, right? Work that they would pay me for half the time. They'd pay me $1 per kilometer biked to bike that distance, but this half of the job I do for free, and then they pay me for that other half.
Right.
That's literally capitalism. That's where how the money works, and that's how every single billionaire made their money, working in that model in some way. Every single billionaire is sustained by other people's work. Well, they just want you to believe. Yeah. Billionaires really want you to believe they're just the hardest working, smartest people out there. And in fact, they'll pay you a great deal of money to disseminate that information. If you are a billionaire and you want us to start talking about how great you are and stop talking about how you actually don't deserve your wealth, feel free to get in touch with us. Our Patreon is patreon.com/explainittojamie. No, but
Yeah.
seriously.
I mean, one interesting sort of telltale sign of that is like most billionaires in the world are pretty low profile. Like all things considered, like I think the big the caveat to that is like American billionaires is a bit of a different story because there's no country in the world that celebrates people who can make money in the same way that the United States celebrates those people. So like we know Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and all those guys because they are like the four CEOs. I guess Bill Gates isn't a CEO anymore, but they're the four heads of the four biggest companies in the country. You know what I mean? But like mostly, when I hear about a billionaire, a lot of the time it's like a name I've never heard. They're caught up in some like. I mean, frankly, sections of like the famous billionaires that we all know and love. There are a few that I think most of them are pretty low profile.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true.
Yeah.
A lot of them come from essentially like the financial world, or where they own large companies. Some of them are in tech, but some of them own big conglomerates, right? Like in Canada, they just published the billionaires list for Canada, the 100 richest people in Canada. Number one is the Thompson family, who own Thomson Reuters. Number two is the guy who started Alibaba. Apparently, he lives in Canada. The Chinese Amazon.
Yeah, Jeff Ma.
Or maybe
Jack Ma. Sorry, is his name.
Yeah. Anyway, and number three is Galen Weston, right? And like that that fact should make anybody who's paying attention furious because Galen Weston, who is, for those of you who aren't in the know about Canadian grocery stores, is the guy who owns kind of like all these different grocery stores and food brands and stuff. Their family in Canada. And he recently was in a massive scandal because it turns out that for literally decades, his companies were conspiring to fix the price of bread and keep the price of bread artificially high. They were all working together to keep the price of bread high so they could take more money from people over a series of decades. That's how he fucking became a billionaire. He literally stole money from everybody by artificially inflating the price of bread across all of his grocery store chains for years. So fuck you, Galen Weston.
Yeah, but also, he gave everybody like a $25 gift card or whatever.
Did
so
he?
Cool, right?
I signed up for that fucking but this is the thing. I signed up for the gift card because I was like, fuck this. They said they were going to give literally anyone who signed up a $25 gift card to their grocery stores, and I signed up for it. Do you know anyone who's received that fucking gift card?
No, I don't know anyone.
No, right?
It's got to be the same. Like, it's got to be the same as like whenever I have a problem with Uber, which I would say is like 1 in every 5 trips I take, I have something to complain about a little bit, and I have to try and get my money back or some money back. It is the biggest pain in the ass in the whole planet. Like the whole thing is automated now. Now they don't have any like. Any people on the phone or anything. And it is, and I swear that they are making it as difficult as they can for you to talk to a person. Like, A, it saves money, but also, like, what are you going to do? Go to Lyft, or like whatever,
Yeah.
Ugh.
I do use Lyft, incidentally. It is considered more ethical than Uber, although I feel like that's just a technicality.
Right. Yeah, maybe I should download Lyft. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah. Here's another. So
go ahead.
But you're right. The impulse to cling to your money as much as possible. That's not invented in your head. That's how billionaires operate. Recently there was I think it was at Davos or one of those big kind of like global financial summits. Bill Gates gave this like very publicized talk where he talked about, he's like, there's this infographic I love, which shows that at this point in the world's history, only 10% of people are living in poverty. Okay. So this got viciously debunked very quickly. This is from only maybe a week or two ago or a couple days ago.
Right.
So what happened was this infographic that he's using, we've only been measuring poverty since like the 80s, but the data goes all the way back to the 1880s. So it's like, well, you're just assuming shit, A. like by going all the way back that far. So you already have to be skeptical of it. B, the definition of poverty is still living off of $1.90 American or less a day. And that's an unchanged, that definition has not risen with inflation.
$1 American a day?
$1.90 American a day.
So $700 a year.
Yeah, that's the definition of, that's the poverty line.
Wow, I've never hit the poverty line. Not since I was
obviously,
about 7, I think.
Obviously, right? Obviously, many economists in the modern day are like, yo, this is not realistic anymore. Realistically, you got to up that to like $7 or $8 American a day. And if you're actually being really realistic, you probably need to up it to $10 or $15 a day. And that's the poverty line.
Right.
And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, maybe I have lived fairly close to the poverty line a few times in my life.
Right. I certainly have. I mean, according
60% of the world lives in poverty.
Right.
60% of the world lives in poverty. And in fact, the only country in which fewer people are in poverty increasing slowly over time, right? Millennials, if you look at essentially like millennials' economic fortunes and you look at millennials as like every year there's new billionaires minted. Every year, the amount of money held by billionaires proportionate to the rest of us is going up all the time, right?
Right.
And not only that, it's about to pass on to their next generation. So in the next 20 years, apparently, because so many billionaires are old, $3.9 trillion is going to be inherited by their heirs.
Wow,
their
lucky
heirs.
Guys.
Yeah, right? I mean, like, good thing they're all really noble people who all have really good ideas, right?
Yeah.
Good thing they all wake up at 5 a.m.
Who's in that group of billionaires that have all agreed to get rid of their wealth after they die?
I don't know. I've actually never heard of that. That's a thing?
No, there's I think Bill Gates, Warren Buffett do anything they want, but not enough money that they can do nothing.
Yeah.
So I think him and Bill Gates have signed a thing along with a few other billionaires saying they're going to give away like 95% of their wealth or like some crazy amount, which is a good thing. You know what I mean? Again, Warren Buffett and Bill Gates though are like the sort of famous billionaires, so they live no, I don't know. I don't want to cheapen their Good Samaritan efforts, but like they live in the spotlight a little bit more, so I think there's a little bit more pressure on them to
yeah, of course. They also do give, proportionately speaking, like, you know, they don't give away nearly as much as they could for the most part. I know Bill Gates,
for sure.
Didn't he give away like some massive amount at one point? Anyway.
Yeah.
The thing is, the problem with billionaires is the same as the problem with like the monarchy, where it's like occasionally you get a really good king, but then sometimes you get a fucking inbred weird king who's going to just like make his horse a senator and send the army into the ocean. You know what I mean?
And then we elect him for president of the United States.
Yeah. And not to mention that, like, you know, monarchies are infamous for getting worse, like the more really good moral people who make really level-headed decisions, the children of super rich people who have grown up all their life in extreme wealth, right? So it's like we're literally giving country-sized, in some cases, fortunes, and these kids are going to inherit this shit, and who the fuck are they? Like, what guarantee probably more likely than them using it to create any kind of public good, right?
Right.
The whole reason we have democracy in the first place is so that the member, like King Henry VIII. I just don't.
Man, sometimes I think that that's like the way, like that's sort of humanity's great stupidity is that like we actually in the same way like the 1920s and the huge wage, like the huge earnings gap, you know, we've surpassed it now. It's like we, you know, back then they must have thought, wow, we can never let this happen again, you know?
Yes.
And then all those people die and their kids die and then grandkids come around and go, yeah, what are these old stories about the 1920s? Wasn't it?
And I think that comes from capitalism. Like capitalism benefits when we're isolated from each other, and capitalism benefits from us all being motivated towards growth and profit, right? But if you have a sense of responsibility to the past, suddenly you have values that might supersede growth and profit. Suddenly it's like, oh, just because we can do this, maybe we shouldn't, you know? And capitalism doesn't have room for that. It will promote, the money will flow to the people who will not listen to those voices in the name of short-term profit, right? Like that's for asking.
Hey, you're welcome.
No, like the fact of the matter is at some point along down the line, in order, like we're two things are going to happen. Either we're going to devolve into them kind of doing whatever they want in exchange for resources. Like that's definitely an option, I think. And I think that's going to get especially clearer if the climate crisis gets really bad. Again, I have theorized more than once. It's a bit of a conspiracy theory, I guess, but like, you know, just take a look at the world and think about it. Like, it seems to me like perhaps the billionaires of the world are actually plan A for them is to just amass as much money as possible and then like be the wasteland kings in the post-climate crisis era, you know, be the ones, I'm not joking, like be the ones with the mountain fortresses and all the nice shit and the private armies.
That's already happened in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? Specifically, I was talking with my girlfriend yesterday. We were talking about investing and she's like, so what's your goal? What's your goal for retirement? You know? And my goal for retirement is I think it's a pretty lofty goal for a Canadian actor. It's meant I can make $50,000 a year for the rest of my life and be fine. And like in your example of like the billionaires sitting on the mountain with their armies and us fighting over nothing, like that is effectively nothing. You know what I mean? $2 million sounds like a lot, and it certainly sounds a lot maybe to like my grandparents, but like it compared to like what I said, you know, if you make $20 million a year just off your money sitting in a bank, $2 million for a lifetime of work is pretty pitiful.
Yeah, right. Well, and we have to, I mean, I think taxation's is the way that they should be cool with us doing it. I think that billionaires, like, I've heard people say, like, you should think of it as like an anti-guillotine tax, frankly, right? Because like, no, because inequality is getting worse. The reason these billionaires have money is because they're sucking it out of society. All of them sucking more and more every year, leaving less and less for the vast numerical majority of people. Like, what if you could retire, Jamie, and, for example, like health insurance expanded to pharmacare and optical care and dental care. So you wouldn't, you know, medication was covered. So that wasn't an expense that you had to worry about into your old age. You know, these, like suddenly you don't have to privatize $2 million just to live a modest life in your retirement. And suddenly, you know, the collective wealth helps support all of these things together. Right?
Yes.
That's a vision of the world that's totally possible. And people always say, how are we going to pay for it? And I'll say, and like the answer is we're going to take it from the things in the country that need to be done. So many public services that need to be invested in. And right now the prevailing wisdom is, oh, we need to just drain them of everything and privatize everything.
I was listening to Bill Maher the other day, and they were talking about how, yes, there's these billionaires that control a massive amount of the wealth. But one of the problems with the tax idea is that most of these billionaires actually in their personal bank accounts only have like $1 million on average, and that it's in billions and billions of dollars. So like, how do you can't tax someone on their, you know what I mean? Like, this is where corporate tax and shit gets real shady, because all of a sudden I don't have to pay tax. My company's paying tax. You know what I mean?
So, I mean, yeah, increasing corporate taxes is a big one also, I think, for sure. And you try to pass that money on to after you die. That's, I think, correct. People have correctly identified that's when you have to take inventory, right, and pass it on. So that's when it can be taxed. I actually think that there would be nothing wrong with this. This is like very utopian. It's like, sure, we can all invest in things and make some profit, but we're not going to make unlimited profit, like a maximum cap, like a maximum wage, right?
That's smart. That'd be frustrating for my stock portfolio.
Yeah, it would definitely cause a bit of a rethinking of how the stock market works. It would cause chaos. It would reinvert the power structures. It would be on them. Can we start to make them seem possible? I mean, again, I can't stress this enough. Think of how outside of contemporary American political discourse, Medicare for all was.
You know, where you offer a kid a marshmallow and you say, if you don't eat that marshmallow for 10 minutes, I'll give you a second marshmallow. And like the theory is that you're getting a window into the kids' like psychology and whether or not they understand the value of investment of time around.
Exactly. That's the idea. And the idea is that we raise the floor. Like this should be the slogan for everybody going forward. Like we 8,000 people, homeless people in Toronto, and it's freezing winter temperatures and they can't go inside somewhere. That is fucking insane.
Right.
It is.
Last podcast, like whatever happened to just being nice and having good ideas that are good for everybody? You know what I mean? Like it seems to me that having a well-educated seems to me to be like, you know, the best investment in our future. The best.
I 100%.
You know what I mean?
I 100% agree with you. And what happened is neoliberalism is essentially no. It rejects that premise. It says the best thing for everybody is when a bunch of very rich people are doing well. And then the effects will trickle down to the people at the lowest level. Let's call it trickle-down economics. It's been disproven massively, right? Massively debunked, but it's still the guiding principle behind many of the things we're doing. That's why you're seeing, for example, the Doug Ford government, here it is, the weekly Doug Ford plug, this week has introduced a new, is drafting, it was leaked. They're drafting a new legislation that will let them essentially start to privatize Ontario's healthcare by breaking up the provincial bodies